In 1968, students occupied Hamilton Hall at Columbia University to protest the Vietnam War, among other things. The university's president called on the police, who violently cleared the occupied building and arrested 700 students. If that sounds familiar, it's because nearly the exact same thing happened this week when students protesting the war in Gaza occupied the same university building. The U.S. has a long tradition of student-led political protests over a variety of issues.
These protests have happened so fast, in such a compressed manner, and have moved from a kind of peaceful protest to some very militant actions in days, not years. There's a kind of urgency and quickness to these protests that's quite different than the long, incremental protests of students in the 1960s.
The anti-Vietnam War student protests were also much more representative of the general public's state of mind, Farber says. Past protests at Columbia and other schools in the U.S. managed to push universities and even the federal government to make real changes. Students in the 60s and 70s are credited with increasing pressure on the Nixon administration, which eventually ended the Vietnam War.